Hello, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ryan.
Welcome to the hidden side of deception, the space where we open the doors to the raw stories and the deepest reflections on what happens when trust is broken.
Today we bring a topic that, just by mentioning it, divides opinions and awakens wounds. Can infidelity be forgiven? We're not going to give you a simple answer, because it doesn't exist. We're going to journey together through what it means to forgive and how that process can, or cannot, heal what was broken.
And to start, we want to share a story that reached us from Miami. We are going to tell it together because both our voices give it the weight it deserves.
Her name is, well, we'll call her Lucia, and he, Andres. Lucia wrote to us, "I never thought I would have to write something like this, but I need to let it out. Andres and I had been together for 8 years, 3 of which were marriage. We had a nice, stable routine, or so I thought. One night, while he was showering, his cell phone vibrated. I'm not one to check phones, but something inside me, told me to do it. And there it was. Messages from another woman. They weren't simple flirtations, they were shared memories. Trips he never mentioned to me. Words I thought he only said to me."
Lucia told us that at that moment, she felt the floor sinking beneath her. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, she didn't say anything. She just closed the phone and stayed staring at the wall while Andres came out of the shower and asked her, with all the calm in the world, "What do you want for dinner?"
She tells us that his normality, while she was burning inside, was what hurt her the most. And here I'll pause. Because many of you have lived something similar, discovering a painful truth and having to act as if nothing is wrong because you don't know where to begin to break that silence.
The next day, Lucia confronted him. Andres first denied everything, then minimized it, and finally confessed. It had been 2 years of a parallel relationship.
And here comes what connects us with today's topic. Lucia decided not to leave. She wanted to, quote-unquote, give the marriage a chance. But as the months went by, she began to wonder if what she was doing was forgiving or just getting used to the pain.
That phrase shook us, because how many people confuse forgiveness with resigning yourself? How many of you who are listening now have stayed in a relationship not because you have healed, but because you feel you don't have the strength to start over?
Today, we're going to explore that. Not to judge, but to understand, what is forgiveness really after infidelity? Is it a gift you give yourself, or is it a way of remaining tied to the one who hurt you?
And before we continue, we want to invite you to tell us, have you ever forgiven infidelity? What did you feel afterward? Leave it in the comments, or if you prefer, send us your story anonymously to our email, which you can find in the video description. Because we build the space together. Every story can be the light that another person needs to understand their own process.
Let's start with the basics, Hannah. Many people think that forgiving is saying, "I'm sorry," and moving on, as if nothing had happened.
Yes, and that's one of the most dangerous myths. Forgiveness is not a switch you turn on and off. It's an emotional, psychological, and sometimes even physical process.
Exactly. After infidelity, your body can react as if it had suffered a severe trauma. Insomnia, anxiety, lack of appetite, difficulty concentrating. It's as if the nervous system were trapped in an alert node.
And here is where many make the mistake of pressuring themselves to get over it quickly because they believe that's the right thing to do or what others expect.
But the truth is, if you don't go through each emotional stage, all you do is bury the pain under a layer of apparent normality. And sooner or later, that pain comes out again, sometimes in much more destructive ways.
We have seen it in therapy many times. Couples who return to normality after a few days, but 6 months later are in an even deeper crisis because they never truly addressed what happened.
And the thing is, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It's not selective amnesia. It's being able to look at what happened, recognize the damage, process the pain, and decide what to do with that story in your life.
Sometimes that means staying together, other times that means separating. But in both cases, forgiveness, if it is real, does not carry hidden resentment.
I want to ask someone who is listening now. How many times have you said, "I forgive you," when deep down, you were accumulating more anger?
And be careful. It's not wrong to feel anger. It's natural. The dangerous thing is to use the word forgiveness as a bandage to cover an open wound.
Right, here comes a key concept. Authentic forgiveness is born when you can recognize that the other person made a mistake, accept that it can no longer be changed, and choose not to carry the weight of resentment every day.
But that does not mean that you automatically trust again. Broken trust is rebuilt separately with time and consistent actions.
And here comes the big question. Can you forgive and not stay with the person? The answer is yes.
Many people believe that if you forgive, you have to stay. And no, forgiving can be part of your personal process, even if you decide that relationship is no longer safe for you.
And I want to take this opportunity to say something important. If you are at this moment debating between staying or leaving, do not rush. Take the time to listen to your emotions, not just the expectations of others.
Even if you decide to stay, set clear boundaries. You cannot forgive and act as if nothing happened. You need new agreements, more open communication, and probably professional support.
And here comes our first practical recommendation. If you have experienced infidelity and want to forgive, write down everything you feel without filter. Do it only for yourself. That will help you see where you are and if you are really ready to forgive or just trying to survive.
I love that exercise, Ryan. And to those who listen to us, if you want to share what you wrote, you can send it to our email. We promise to keep it anonymous, and if you authorize us, we could comment on it in a future episode.
Yes, because many times hearing your story in the voice of others gives you a perspective you had not considered.
And if you're thinking, I'm never going to forgive something like that, that's also okay. This podcast is not about telling you what to do, but about opening up options and reflections so that you can choose what is best for you.
Exactly. There are no single recipes here, but there are tools that can help you decide from a place of clarity, not impulse.
Ryan, let's talk now about the emotional phases that a person usually goes through after discovering infidelity.
Yes, because understanding these phases not only helps you recognize where you are, but also prevents you from blaming yourself for feeling what you feel.
The first phase is shock. That moment when the world freezes and you feel that nothing makes sense. Many describe this stage as being inside a movie in slow motion.
Exactly. It's a mix of disbelief and blocking. You can even continue functioning automatically, working, talking, cooking, but inside, the mind is trying to process the unthinkable.
Then comes the anger phase. And here I want to make a point. Anger is not just screaming or arguing. It can also be a silent rage, that resentment that accompanies you all day and that steals your energy.
Yes, and it's important not to get trapped there. Anger is a sign that you recognize there was an injustice, but if it lasts too long, it begins to hurt you more than the other person.
Next comes the internal negotiation stage. This is where one begins to think, if we change this, if I do this other thing, maybe we can fix it.
This phase is delicate because it often leads to justifying the unjustifiable. It's natural to want to look for ways out, but you cannot build real agreements on broken foundations.
Then inevitably comes the deep sadness, that grief for what you thought you had. This is where many people feel that they have lost not only their partner, but also a part of themselves.
And this is where emotional support becomes vital. You don't have to go through this alone. Look for support networks, be it friends, family, or a professional.
Finally, we arrive at the acceptance phase. And be careful, acceptance does not mean approving what happened, but recognizing that it occurred, that you cannot change it, and that you now decide how to continue with your life.
At this point, forgiveness can be an option or not, and both are valid.
I want to ask someone who's listening to us, in which of these phases do you recognize yourself today? Write it in the comments. Knowing this can be the first step to understanding and taking better care of yourself.
And if you have a story you want to share, send it to the email that is in the video description. Your experience may help someone who is going through something similar.
Also, reading real experiences connects us. It makes us feel less alone at a time that, in itself, tends to isolate us.
And something else, don't demand yourself to go in order through these phases. Some people jump from anger to sadness and back to shock. It is a non-linear process, and that is completely normal.
The important thing is not to get stuck in a single phase. If you feel like you've been in the same place for months or even years, it's a sign that you need to actively work to get out of there.
And that is where forgiveness can become a tool for liberation, but only when it comes from a place of strength, not weakness.
Ryan, I think we have made it clear that forgiveness is not a favor you do for the other person, but a gift that, if you want, you can give yourself.
Yes, and I emphasize the if you want, because forgiveness is not mandatory. There are those who heal without forgiving, and there are those who need to forgive to close their story.
The important thing is not to confuse forgiving with justifying. When someone betrays your trust, it is not your responsibility to excuse their behavior to make things go back to how they were.
Exactly. And I want to say something to those listening to us now. Don't feel guilty if you still can't forgive. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Each process has its time, and that time is not measured with a calendar, but with how you feel each morning when you wake up.
It is also essential to understand that forgiving does not mean forgetting. Memory is a protection tool. What changes with forgiveness is the emotional weight you associate with that memory.
It's as if you stopped carrying a backpack full of rocks. The rocks still exist, but they are no longer on your back.
And there's something else. If you decide to forgive and stay with that person, the real challenge will be to rebuild trust. That requires facts, not empty promises.
I have seen cases where that reconstruction takes years, and in others, unfortunately, it is never achieved. That's why it's so important to be honest with yourself about whether you are willing to go through that path.
And if you decide not to stay, that's also okay. Your worth is not measured by your ability to endure pain. It is measured by your ability to choose what is good for you.
I want to close with an invitation. Tell us in the comments, what do you think about this topic? Can infidelity be forgiven? And if you ever did, what changed in you afterwards?
You can also send us your story, the one you want to tell, to the email in the video description. Those experiences help us create new episodes that truly connect with what you're experiencing.
And if this episode made you think, share it with someone who is going through a situation like this. You never know the impact a few words can have at the right time.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any episodes of The Hidden Side of Deception. Here we talk about what many keep silent about, but everyone feels.
Thank you for joining us today. We will hear you in the next episode.
And remember, the truth can hurt, but silence hurts more.